and here you are with another episode of You Make Us, a space where we celebrate, learn about what's going on at Unlock. Today, we have a person who has been one of the starting, let's say, lights of why Unlock exists today. So, we have Julien with us today, and we're going to chat about a lot of things. Hi, Julien.
Hi,
Welcome to
Anupa.
You Make Us.
Of course, thank you for having me. Hi, Anupa. How are you?
Good, good. So yeah, so one like normally I start with one of the the first questions is that how did this all start for you? Your story as a founder. Where did Unlock begin?
Yes, absolutely. So Unlock is basically started from a realization from maybe at this point 15, 20 years ago of almost that the web is kind of cursed. If we use attention as the monetization, if we use basically ads all across the web, um, the decentralized web, the idea that small websites will exist and be flourishing feels unlikely. The reason for this is because if you monetize, it's much easier to monetize with ads. I mean, basically, ad monetization is favoring the big ones. So think of it as like if you're a brand and you want to advertise online, it's much easier to go to Facebook or Google than it is to go to 1,000 small sites. And so that means that in practice, all of the small sites are going to be starved for revenue, for ways to make money, as long as we're thinking about attention as the main driver for monetization on the web.
Yeah, and for me, actually, this whole what Unlock does is basically redesigning, like you said, the relationship between creators, communities, value, and monetization. So, are there any like key moments in your life, or maybe just like experiences that you felt that made you shift enough to say, hey, like, what am I doing? What is this? We need to create something, and let me
Yep.
build something.
Yeah, so my previous company was doing RSS feed APIs called Superfeeder and was acquired by Medium, the publishing platform. And I worked for Medium for a couple of years. And when I was at Medium, is really, when I had the realization that what Medium was building around this membership model needed to exist for the web. So Medium, publishing platform, you probably know of this. People go there to write, blog posts and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it initially was not monetized at all, and eventually explored monetization through ads, like that was fashionable, and they realized like it was going to be really hard to monetize with ads without completely degrading the reading experience. And the reading experience on Medium was what was kind of unique, like this very kind of pure or very clean interface. And so that's when Medium started to explore the idea of doing a membership model. And when they did, it actually worked. And I was at the company at the time, much better than I actually even expected, or that a lot of people expected. And I realized that, maybe what Medium is doing needs to exist at the scale of the web. Like maybe there should exist a protocol for memberships, a way for fans to express their interest in a brand, in a specific creator, a specific product, using membership by basically purchasing, earning memberships that are kind of unique tokens for that specific creator, brand, or creator.
And and the thing is that like I feel that membership subscriptions is something which is I feel are one of the first point of contacts that we have with the internet, when you're buying, when you're, so e-commerce, in that sense is one of the main touch points that make us actually fortunately or unfortunately know a lot more about the web. And using a system like Unlock, what do you think is benefiting users from like web 3 versus web 2?
In the Web2 world, when you have a subscription or membership, it is tied to a specific website or publication. So let's say I'm a fan of yours and you write on Substack. Well, if I have a membership to your content, it's only going to be on Substack, which means that you and I are basically intimidated by Substack. We're stuck on Substack.
Yeah.
If at some point you
Yeah.
decide to create content on another platform, whether it's Ghost or Medium, well, at that point, I cannot express the fact that I'm a fan. I cannot access, maybe if you start publishing private things on there, I cannot access them because they would be members only on that other platform. Moving to Web3 means that the membership becomes decoupled from the platform themselves and being tied to the creators. So now if I'm a member of the Anupa Readers fan club, I'm a member of the Anupa Readers Fan Club anywhere on the web, not just on Substack or on a specific, or on YouTube if you do YouTube thing, or on a specific platform.
Yeah. So
So
it's
that's really
almost
what.
like, yeah, and it's almost like it's traveling with you. So
Yes,
wherever you go, you take it with you. So whether it is it can, exist in any, any system. Is that why, like, what was your decision behind it to make it open source,
that's exactly that. The goal was to make it travel with both the creator and the fan. And the reason why it wanted to be open source is so that other platforms, other application could implement it. It's again, I didn't want to create something where it was yet another platform or yet another place where people could lock in memberships. But it was something that, okay, this is open source. This is available for everyone to implement or use on their own platform, and that's how we ended up. WordPress plugins, different other kinds of integration into different services, is because this was open source.
Okay. So, since we have a large scope of viewers, for especially for our builders and the devs, what is unique about the mechanism that you built around Unlock? What is it that they? What is the takeaway for them?
Yeah, so the main takeaway is, like, again, this openness and this decentralization is like we built the the protocol, the base layer, the thing that people could implement, and then they can run away with it. And we, as Julien or even Unlock Labs, the company that created this, don't own the protocol. The protocol is something that is now fully collectively owned by the DAO, and you're one of the members of the DAO. And so that's really
Yeah.
important. Like, if you build on top of this, we can't rug it from you. Like, there's no world in which I or somebody else would go steal it. It's not because we don't want it, it's because we physically cannot take it from you and change how it works without you having a say in that. And so that's really kind of the important aspect for developers. Like, right now, if you're a developer and you build something, that uses, maybe that monetizes using the App Store, well, when Apple changes their policies, your app might break. It's not how it works
Yeah.
with the Unlock protocol. Like, I cannot change how it works without the community itself having a say in maybe deciding how it should work or it should not work. And so that's really kind of an important aspect, is this, collective ownership, that makes it different from other types of interfaces or APIs, basically.
Fantastic. On a personal note, what does collective ownership or decentralization mean to you? When I actually joined this whole Web3, I didn't know what it was. I was thrown into a project where we were building an ecosystem for coffee farmers in Ethiopia, and we came into the bear market, and I was just in shock that that communities can actually run like this, but where is the ownership? So according to you, like, how do you build that sense personally to even translate that on a on a systematic level, on a ecosystem, and then onto like a DAO?
Yeah, what it means is basically that I am not in control, that I am not in charge, that I can create this for others, and then it's not a it's I mean, it's not a it's not it's a gift. Maybe it's a bit cheating to say it's a gift, but it's really something that I give people so that they can express and do what they want. It is not something that I, give and then take back. It's really kind of, that's for me, the really important aspect is, like, it's something that is built for others to use, not built as a way to kind of exert control on what they do. And in that way, this is really kind of similar to how, open source ethics have been working for the last, 20, 40 years at this point.
Yeah.
So it's something that
uh,
empowers people more than takes away from them.
and I think designing with trust and onboarding and also scaling, um, do you think that decentralization can be compromised, or I mean, I see a lot of like Web3 products and systems, not naming any, finding difficult to stick on to this ethos, right? Because of a lot of reasons. Where does, how do you evaluate, as an ecosystem, that you can continue with this ethos? Because I feel with Unlock, as a as a DAO, I think we really own the way that we work, whether it is, just in the way that we manage, calls or proposals, or now, and we will talk about that later, the governance platform, or any other issues. So is it easy? No, because I think somewhere ego comes in, and we're still trying to go beyond that. What do you think is the scope for other protocols or products to actually really retain this ethos?
It is hard. Obviously, the Web3 space, the crypto space altogether, has been plagued with opportunistic people that ended up, you know, building things that were not truly decentralized, or that were in the end lying in terms of what their intent was, and kind of creating more centralization around their own approaches and their own product than than actually building something in the open, and for the greater good of the community. So how do I evaluate these projects? I mean, at the same time, I want to make it clear, like, I understand the urge for somebody who's building something like this to monetize and maybe take shortcuts that they shouldn't take. So it's obviously hard. This is something that I personally struggle with. As you know, I now work for another company, and that's also because I realized, like, Unlock Labs would not allow me to make enough money to keep working on this, basically. And so that was kind of one of the challenges. Like, okay, when that happens, do we want to you know lie to ourselves, and then, or renounce our ideals and eventually build something very centralized, very that would take from what was built? Or do we move, which we did, toward complete community ownership, complete decentralization, and say, you know what, this is what we were meant to build from the get-go. So we're going to build this, even though it's not a financial success. That's what we'll finish building, or we'll continue building, and then give away the control that we've built to the community, basically. And that's what we did. And I'm really proud of this. It's basically, it's like we achieved the vision in a way that, yes, we built something that is useful, that people can take on, and we're not actually taking from them. We're doing this in a way that allows them to be fully in control of their usage of the protocol.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important point. I think I'm also very proud to be a part of Unlock. um, I think what is important, that every organization or a product, it goes through a cycle, right? I think one of the awareness, the discovery, that's one stage. But then, with every rise there is a fall. But is it a fall? I feel it's more like a change where you're re-evaluating yourself, and I think that is where Unlock is, as a whole community, where we are trying to build a space where, how do exactly that, that self ownership has become more collective, or collectively owned. Because if it was self, I think we would have been dissolved a long time ago.
Yeah, and
And I
exactly.
think
So,
yeah,
the fall would have been to actually not follow up on our vision. Would have been to kind of move away
yeah,
from building something decentralized and collectively owned.
yeah,
That was, again, that's not an easy choice, because we had investors, we had a bunch of people that were waiting for us to be able to monetize or make more money for them.
yeah,
But I really realized, like, no, we were meant to build this, so we're going to build this. It is not the
yeah,
financial success that these guys expected, but it would have been a failure. It would have been a fail if we actually did not build what we
yeah,
decided to build, and
yeah,
kind of turn our
yeah,
back
yeah,
onto the, I don't want to say the ideals, but the at least the vision that we had.
yeah. And I think where now the scope of our Unlock stands is that the quality, I was going to ask you this later, maybe now is the more opportune moment, is that it has a very versatile capacity of building use cases. It's only now that I understand the value of it. So according to you, if you could just talk about a few case studies or use cases that you feel Unlock can fit in, and where do you think that, how can people build sustainable economies with something like this? Because I think this is, given our political, social, environment now, everybody is looking at that place for monetization, right? And self ownership. Nobody wants to work for a big consultancy or a company where, where value is not met. So according to you, yeah, what are the few use cases according to you work around this?
Yeah, one of the use case for Unlock that has been pretty significant success, and actually right now there's the team at Gnosis is using Unlock for tickets. If you think about a ticket, it's a membership, a one-off membership, a ticket to an event, a ticket to a party, a ticket to a conference. It is a one-off membership. It's a membership just for that specific event that gives you access to the venue or the different activities related to that event, and that's one of the successful ways that people have been using Unlock. What's cool about the ticket is like if you think, well, what's the difference between a Web3 on-chain ticket versus a regular ticket? Well, the benefit is like now you can use that ticket on other places. So one example that I give all the time is actually Gnosis Chain did this a few years where they gave voting rights to people on some on-chain voting application based on whether they had an NFT ticket in their wallet. If they had, they knew that the person was actually an attended and could vote on different things. And so instead of actually building a voting platform themselves that would be just for attendees where people would have to log in, etc., they were able to kind of reuse existing voting infrastructure like Snapshot to say, okay, if people have a ticket, they can vote, and then they made a kind of a they ask a bunch of questions to the attendees based on this. So I think that's a really cool use case. Other use cases that I've seen over and over is creators on their blogs writing content and being able to say, what, some of the content that I'm creating is members only. But you can think about streaming. So we're streaming right now. Imagine if that streaming had both a public version, which is actually pretty common, and a private version as well, where at some point only the paying members can actually watch the rest of the stream. Well, that's something that is enabled truly by Unlock, and we've seen different people attempted building that kind of example.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the most easily used and use cases are what we use around us, like let's say tickets, or like you said, member like content. uh, Also, people listening, there's a lot that you can do with supply chain, with fashion, with education, what's the other one, certificates, which we have people building on Unlock. So check it out. There is a huge ecosystem out there waiting to be built on Unlock.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of different ecosystem that can be built on Unlock. Yeah.
Yeah. So now focusing more on the DAO, what was the point where you felt that this technology-led experience of yours is turning into a more community-led, DAO experience?
What do you mean? Can you rephrase?
Like like you're like since you build you're building a platform, and then suddenly you have Discord, and like there are a bunch of people who join in. So when was that shift? When did that happen?
So basically, pretty much from the get-go, right? Like we realized, like if we're going to build this as an open ecosystem, as an open protocol for people to use, we need a place for these people to kind of interact, ask questions, and share their learnings and do that. So very quickly from the beginning, we had a Discord. Actually, the very, very early days, we had a Telegram group, and then a bunch of people complained that it was too hard because it was a single stream. And so wanted to move. It was actually before Telegram supported having multiple channels. So we moved to Discord. I know now there's people in the community that say, it would be easier if it was on Telegram. So it goes back and forth. I don't honestly have a strong opinion either way. But actually, going back to your previous point, Discord is one of these places where if we, yes, I guess we're already moving, but so if we have people that one cool thing about Discord is like it's very easy to actually token gate, make it so that some channels are only available and accessible to people that have a specific membership. I don't know that Telegram supports this. If it does, I think we should definitely have people build kind of token gated Telegram channels. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more that we grow as as a community, I think we can definitely build value for engagement, and also the different kinds of things that are happening within Unlock. Julian, I was wondering if you wanted to just talk about the governance platform, maybe share your screen if possible, and just talk about that a little bit more, because since that's one of the things that we're looking into now.
I don't think I am fully enabled. I mean, I don't think I've prepared anything to share my screen on. What do you want me to show, I guess, is maybe the bigger
Or
question.
just talk about, like, the governance platform that
Yes.
that you're
Okay.
building. Yeah,
Maybe I can try actually to share my screen.
yeah,
And this is obviously work in progress. Let me see if I can load it quickly
yeah. I
here.
mean, yeah, a lot of the projects that that are showcased are work in
Okay.
progress. So it's also good to see that what's happening.
Yes.
What are we striving to?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see my screen, but I
Yes,
cannot
yeah,
see you
yeah. I
anymore. So I
can.
guess
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
can see my screen. But cool. So the way this works is obviously, on the main Unlock website, we now have a governance subdomain, and we'll update the links. The reason why this came up to be is because Tally, which is the interface that we initially used, has been deprecated, and I think is going to go away in some amount of time. And so we wanted to make sure that people could still vote. One of the big benefits of using on-chain voting is the source of truth is actually not in a database somewhere. It's all in smart contracts on the base chain, right? And so it is actually possible to build another alternative UI that people can use instead of the main, not the main, or instead of a front end like Tally. And that's kind of the goal here. And so again, there's a bit of more work to do here, but you can see some aspects about the governance. And for example, you can see some of the proposals here. There's multiple, like, so that homepage again needs a bit of love. Will show a bunch of different things like the treasury, how much up, which is the governance token and the Unlock protocol ecosystem, is held in the treasury, how much ETH is held in the treasury. Some of the recent proposals, and so this one is pending, so people are expected to start voting on soon. But this one, for example, was executed a couple of weeks ago. And so you can see, there's a way to kind of browse all of proposals. So you can see all of the ones, again, pending ones. And when you click on one of them, you can see details of, okay, is to make a payment for the month of May. David, one of our, stewards in charge of financial and resources, has, is going to get paid from that proposal. Ceci and Triggs are both going to get a bit of share payment, and you can actually see the details of what's going to happen. It's not necessarily the most easily way of debug of seeing things, but you can see here. So this address, I guess, is David. We'll have to go explore more to make sure this is the case, but it's going to receive some amount of up. This address is going to receive some amount of up as well, and so that's either Ceci or Trade. So again, I'm working on making it better because it's very, very rough right now. But
yeah,
you can see other aspects as well. So you can see the delegates. Hopefully it's going to load. Yes, I can see who has voting power and who's voting on this. So this is the main Unlock Labs address, and we're actually not voting,
yeah,
but we have people delegated
yeah,
to us. And then you have other addresses that have voting rights there.
yeah,
And obviously, if you are a token holders, you're invited to connect your wallet. So it's as easy as
yeah,
doing this. You can connect a wallet, and then you can delegate. You'll see that this is a bit different from what we had earlier, but I can delegate myself, so or to any address. So for example, if I want you to delegate to Stella, I can do, I'm going to butcher the name, but yes, and so I can delegate to her here, and then you
yeah,
would see her basically in the list of delegates here. Um,
yeah,
I hope that makes sense. So
yeah,
yeah, that's how this UI works. There's a little bit of a treasury as well, so you can see a bit of the ETH that is owned, the USDC that is owned, the wrap ETH that is owned, the UP token and the UDT token, which is the legacy token for the governance. And then obviously people
yeah,
have a way to kind of submit new proposals as well using
yeah.
this. Again, work in progress to make it easier, to make it better. But that's kind of an alternate to the Tally UI, which I think is going to go away soon.
That's that's good that you brought it up, because my next question was, yeah, since this is for us Unlock, do you think this system can be built for other protocols or anybody else, like almost like a skin, for them to use this system, because if Tally is not there, why not? This could also be an opportunity, since, like you said, it's built on Unlock, it's open source. It might be a way that can engage other conversations also, because yeah, even though grants are becoming very difficult, proposals are still kind of still there. Another source of conversation, okay, we have Stella in the chat who said connect with other communities also. Yeah, exactly. It can be a source of connection between other communities. One thing is that maybe we can focus on proposals. The other thing, what I've been seeing with a lot of other DAOs, is that from proposals they are moving into micro, incentivizing micro actions and activities within communities. So since they can't fund like large proposals, maybe this could be also a system where we can look at how can people within where they incentivize tasks, whether as a solo user, like a solo wallet, or as a like a group, um, which I have not seen anywhere either.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is, but yeah, definitely this is something, to your point earlier, like it's something that other communities can use. Yes, and it's also built open source, so we can definitely, happy to take contribution. It's on the GitHub for Unlock Protocol.
Yeah,
You'll see there's a governance app in there, and if you're, if you're a front-end developer, this is using React
yeah,
in Next.js. If you're a front-end developer that uses Next.js and React, you're more than welcome to
yeah.
contribute, or even take it and configure your own governance tokens and governance contract to run in your own community.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what I was meaning is that, like proposals, the other asset could be actions. Like, people can say, hey, I have done this activity, can I get incentivized? And through the platform, like different people can get incentivized rather than proposals getting passed. It could be just smaller actions, because, proposals are, funding is not that easy nowadays, and especially everybody's looking at on-chain activity and ROI and like stellar, engagement.
Yes, yeah, I think it's totally fine. Yeah, I think it's totally fine to share this and have more people around
Yeah,
the micro incentives. I mean, this is obviously a DAO decision.
yeah,
I myself don't have ways to incentivize people, but yeah,
yeah,
if
yeah.
the DAO has a treasury and so could do some of these things, and so I would definitely recommend people that if they're interested in this submit proposal.
Yeah. Also, it'll be nice to talk about the people within the DAO. How did you just see people coming together? What was the way that the DAO actually moved from something that it was before to what it stands today? Like,
What
what
do
are
you mean?
your insights? I mean, like, people coming together. What do you think attracted people towards Unlock?
I think in the end, it's a lot of creators. So that was one of the big thing that I always liked is like seeing creators embrace this and say, okay, you know what, I want to be part of this. Unfortunately, like always, a lot of these creators have churned, and because Web3 and tokens became less interesting for them. But I think the problem that the Unlock protocol solves is still very true. Like, there's not a day where I don't hear about a creator on Substack that's complaining about the fact that they're stuck there. And it's like, well, yes, that's why we built Unlock, and it's true for
Yeah.
other platforms. Like, I'm thinking about other types of platform, and yeah, it's happening over and over. So again, even though Web3 and tokens and crypto are not fashionable these days as much as they were for a while, I think
Yeah.
the problem that we try to solve is still very much there, and hopefully we'll get them solved.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's one of the things that I think which really makes Unlocked stand out, is the level of, like, I would say, community participation, and also community bond that there is. I've seen that you Stella and a lot of others are quite active in building support for people who are building, and the response time is also quite quite short, and that engagement is there. And I think that's really important in a DAO. Depending on what they're doing and how they're doing, there's still a value that actually brings people back.
Yes, absolutely. And again, like, it's in the end, it's a community tool as well. Like, so it's really good to see all different people that are interested in communities being able to work together.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that within a DAO that works very well is that that's why, I proposed You Make Us, is that it's also good to see who's doing what. And it always doesn't need to be a project. It can just be an experience of how they've, interacted with, Unlock, or, what is it that makes them understand Unlock in reference to their work. And yeah, and the response has been, really fantastic. um, yeah, my next question to you is that, now that, a lot of the communities are becoming, transactional, right? Where obviously for them to also survive, there has to be a give and take. When things like membership or token gated, these kind of like aspects come up, do you think that it becomes, easier to understand transactions? Or, does it become like, oh, it's becoming more, more service based?
Um, I, I think that's a good question, and honestly, a question that I don't have an answer for right now is whether the crypto details should be, going completely under the hood, or if they should be visible. Obviously, if they're visible to users, users might be confused or might not understand what's going on because they're not familiar with how that works. At
Yeah,
the same time, if you hide them, then it means that you actually require to trust the application, and you're back to the same scenario where that application eventually has control over what you do. So it's kind of a constant, battle, at least inside my mind, but I think in the space of, going for convenience, as much as possible without degrading the permissionlessness or creating a system where somebody can capture this. Because again, if you think about the web as a whole, it was initially very distributed, but also much harder to use. And then, what platforms like Facebook or X, or, even YouTube and others eventually built, is the convenience of a single interface, a single place where I can just have a single account, maybe even a single payment. YouTube is this, where you put your card. And in the end, what that means though is like these platforms bring convenience, but the price of convenience is decentralization, is censorship, basically.
yeah,
At some point, these platforms decide what you can see, what you cannot see, how much you can make as a creator, how much you're not making as a creator. And so that's kind of constant battle here between giving power to people and then, resisting the urge of abusing that power. And I think,
yeah,
unfortunately, in that space, for better or worse, we struggle with the idea that, I mean,
yeah,
users are
yeah,
struggling, basically. I think it's too
yeah.
often that we see users say, "Oh, I just want something easy." It's like, yes, you can have the easy way, but then you have to realize, like, that's the price for ease, is usually that you don't have as much control, and at some point these platforms might turn their back against you.
Yeah, because a lot of the the creator monetization models currently are broken. And yeah, the value of how, like, let's say, if somebody's, I mean, uh, I used to run, this women's group, and a lot of them were coaches or, educators, so they had classes, right? And we were telling them about, Unlock, and the things that they were not really into Web3, but they at least understood the exactly what you're talking about. And they said, yeah, this is actually a place where, we can run things on our own. Because, like we've seen, if you if you create something on another platform, there is a platform fees. The organization will take something. But here, like with Unlock, the mint fees is also something that is accessible and inclusive. So that was that a conscious decision, when you started? And obviously, even it's a part of what the DAO, thinks now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to. I mean, yes, the fees are annoying, but it's not so much the fees that are annoying than the fact that creators have no control of over the fees. For me, that's
Yeah,
the challenge. Like, every service, every whether it's a protocol, there needs to be some kind of business model for it to be sustainable. Like, if there is no money coming back to pay for developers, to pay for support, then it's gonna go away. And it's not much better than using one that you don't have control over, because the thing that goes away doesn't exist anymore. So I think we have to also get familiar with the idea of paying. It's just like, these payments, these fees need to be transparent, need to be kind of um, collectively controlled in some way, again. And so
yeah,
it's not so much about not having places where we pay, than it is having control about how much we charge, and how much the fees are and stuff like this. So I want to kind of insist, like, in my vision of the web, eventually, yes, there's going to be paid services, maybe a lot of them, but also a lot of ways for creators to make money. Because if you're not, then somebody else has attention, right? Like, there's if you don't pay, you're the product kind of scenario is actually what's happening on the web right now. Like, you don't pay for a lot of the things, well, you end up being the product. Like, your data is being harvested, and then the content that you see, the ads that you see,
yeah,
are in the end
exactly.
kind of influencing your choices. So I think it's critical to understand that, for me, I mean, a healthy web is not one where everything is free. It's one where the users and the creators can choose where they want to go, and what fee. In some way, there is competition, and they can actually choose what fees are worth spending or worth paying, versus what fees are not worth spending or worth paying for. So it's
Yeah.
not, again, it's not a place where everything is free, because that doesn't actually exist in practice. If, if everything is free, somebody else is paying for this, and whoever is paying eventually has control. And so I want people to be able to be in control. And so that means that, yes, oftentimes you will have to pay for stuff, but again, the idea is, like, it's a fair payment, one that is not extractive or not abusive, I guess.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are, I think, understanding that, or not even understanding, because let's say, which you said rightly, that, there has to be somebody's paying for something, and it has to have some sort of relation, transactional relation, whether
Yes.
it's money, whether it's data. Um, and I think that conscious behavior, I see it in a lot of people, but yet, like, we live in a global population which is beyond trillion, right? So
Yes.
there will be that part, that will not understand this. And I think one of the things that, what attracted me towards Unlock, which was also really easy to story tell to other people who are not a part of web 3,
Three. Yep.
is the easy way of, of the experience of actually using Unlock, the UX. Was that something intentional, or it just happened because, the way that you were building? Because in the design fraternity, like, one of our guests, Thibaut, both of us we have the design background, and we were just really, like, talking about how UX really needs to, change, and, build better narratives. So is that something that you consciously created?
Yes. I mean,
This is
yes,
pretty,
but
yeah,
yeah, it is. And honestly, this, again, as I said earlier, like, this is a challenge, like, almost every day, finding the right balance between giving you control to user and making it easier for them to kind of understand what's going on and what's happening under the hood, without compromising on that. So 100%, yes, this is intentional. uh, no, it's not an easy thing, and we still have a lot of progress to make.
yeah,
We have to, what I say all the time is, like, you have to meet users where they are, but you also have to bring them with you on a journey to get to a place where they can feel confident using tools that they were not feeling confident before. But also, something that actually makes me, confident that we can get there, is, if you think about the historical history of the web. And again, I'm probably a bit older than most people listening to this stream. Is early on the web, it was very strange. Like, you had to buy a specific device called a modem that you plug into the telephone line, which, again, doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about this. Once it's plugged in the telephone line, you would have to download some software on your computer. That is, not something that you would do, and you would use a CD-ROM for this. And then your computer would making some strange noise to connect to the internet, like, and then you'd be
yeah,
connected. But then if you
yeah,
connected, you actually not nowhere. You still have to find a search engine, and
Yeah.
people were very
Yeah.
confused about what search engines are and how they worked. And so the fact that we are now taking all of these things for granted in some way is a really good sign. It means that we've made a lot of progress, but is for me kind of also a sign of hope as well as a proof that we can get there. It's just, it's taking time. It's iterating 1,000 times. And maybe that's one thing that I would love to tell people in the space is like, yes, I understand Web3 interactions are not perfect, but if we don't use these things, we can't actually make them better. There's kind of a flywheel, kind of a loop where you start with an experience. You have some users that either tell you what's not great about it, or through data you can actually see what is the friction, and then you can improve. And then as you improve, you remove some of the friction, which means that more users come in, etc., etc. And so we definitely have to be in a mindset where there's a bit of effort to do initially, and again, the people building like me should try to lower the bar as much as possible, but then we should make the effort. Because right now, if we don't actually use this, we're going to use more and more of Substack and Facebook and others, and that means that
Yeah.
we're actually making these platforms more and more powerful, because
Yeah.
every little minute that we spend on them, we're actually making them more powerful, because they can collect more data and actually make things even easier on their platform. But again, stealing more and more of our freedom and our ability to kind of choose what we want to see and how we monetize.
Yeah. No, and that's a really important point, because I think for early adopters, especially, the understanding of the technology, yes, it's there, and also understanding of things within the ecosystem, like finance.
Yep.
There was this huge thing about, oh, we should just make a UX easy, and it should just be like, just clicking buttons, and you're part of Web3. I said the Web3 ethos starts from ownership, of immutability, of decentralization. It's not meant for people who want to pass on that, let's say, responsibility on somebody else. It has to start for you with you.
Yep.
So today,
Ex-
if you're creating your own membership, asset, or your own subscription, there has to be a understanding of how that business model works. There are tools that are given to you, but just using them, I feel it's not good enough. You have to know more. Otherwise, a system like this is not meant for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
um yeah, so yeah, this has been a very interesting conversation. What are your future thoughts about Unlock? Where do you kind of seeing it moving? Where would you like it to be in your own in your own idealistic vision?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the number one thing is more community ownership. And so having, and you personally, Anupa and Stella and a bunch of others, Triggs, are doing an amazing job to keep fostering community engagement. And so I think that's the number one thing, is like making sure the community keeps owning it. So that's, where I see that. Personally, want to contribute more, so making more progress on the governance application that I demoed earlier, and a bunch of other small things that I had ideas of. Obviously, my time is fairly limited these days, but hopefully can make some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so generally seeing more contribution, thinking of people like Danny as well, who is obviously one of our most active DAO members and most contributors. And so it's exciting to see people like him build a bunch of interesting applications and stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think there is a lot happening. I'm really hoping that this message goes out to everybody watching, and wanting to be a part of Unlock, and using Unlock in their experiences. One of my last questions to you is, and which I ask everyone: what is the message that you would like to give your future self?
Uh, be proud of the work that you've done, but keep building. It's like that's what I would love to hear every time when I wake up. It's like, okay, you've done a lot of cool things, but keep building, do more.
Yeah, I think that's for everyone who's striving. That
Yes.
like, even in design today, you create something, but then you never know when to stop, and you keep building, and you keep building, and then it keeps evolving through what it was. Whether it's form follows function, or function follows form, we don't know, but at least we build something that creates an impact.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Julian. It was great chatting with you. Anything else that you'd like to add? I've missed out. I think we've pretty much covered everything that we need to speak about at Unlock.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is like I want to thank everyone in the community. Thank you, Anupa. Thank you, Stella, who is watching us from the stream.
From the live.
Thank you, Triggs, and I mentioned Danny. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of others, but like, yeah, thanking every of our community members. This is, Unlock wouldn't be where it is today without you guys, and so this is kind of an honor for me to see
Yeah,
you, and I see you basically. That's the important aspect.
yeah.
Andrew,
And yeah,
Ceci,
also,
yes, yes.
exactly, and I think there are a lot of other names also have been frantically yeah, one message to whoever is watching: please look at your DMs. I've probably stalked you, telling you if you would like to be on You Make Us. Apparently Discord has flagged me because I've been sending so many DMs to people. So yeah, that's a message out there. Check your DMs, because if you're in Unlock, then you've probably heard from me, if I can get through to you. Yeah, okay, so that's a wrap from us. Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Stella, do you want to do whatever you
Oh,
have to do?
I'm always adding myself for the last 30 seconds. Okay, no, I think we're good. Goodbye, everyone out there, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Yeah. Bye.